After I gave my daughter-in-law a birthday gift I'd spent months saving for, she tossed it aside and said, "I don't want anything from you." She made me feel like nothing, like I didn't belong in my own family. That night, I decided to show her just how much I could still matter. I'm a 63-year-old woman living in Denton, Texas. I live alone in a small 2-bedroom house my husband left me when he passed. It's not much, but it's mine. I've always tried to keep to myself, not cause trouble. I raised my son, Mark, the best way I could. We were close for most of his life. He used to call me every Sunday, bring me flowers on my birthday, and tell me I was his rock. Then he married Cassidy. Cassidy is the kind of woman who lights up a room, but not in a warm way.
She's sharp.
She's beautiful, yes, but cold. From the moment Mark introduced her to me, I knew she didn't think much of me. She grew up wealthier, fancier, more polished. I could tell by the way she looked around my house like she was scanning for dust. Still, I tried. I smiled. I complimented her. I even took cooking classes to make dishes she liked. I just wanted to be accepted. I saved for 3 months to get her something special for her birthday. A designer purse. It cost me over $400. I cut back on groceries, skipped doctor appointments, and even picked up extra hours at the library shelving dusty books. I knew she'd mentioned the brand once while scrolling through her phone, saying how classy it was. I thought she'd be touched that I remembered. Her party was at their house. Big, modern, spotless. Cassidy's friends from Dallas were there, sipping wine and laughing too loudly. I felt out of place the second I walked in, but I smiled and hugged my grandson, Ryan. He's the only one who makes me feel like I still matter. When it was time for gifts, people handed Cassidy small boxes and envelopes. She opened them quickly, said thanks without much emotion. Then it was my turn. I walked up with the carefully wrapped purse and handed it to her, smiling. She took it with a fake grin, unwrapped it halfway, saw the logo, and her face changed. She didn't even finish opening it. She set it on a side table and said, with a little laugh, "I don't want anything from you." I froze. Everyone heard it. I looked around and saw blank stares. Mark wouldn't even look at me. He just kept drinking his beer. I stood there like a damn statue, holding a paper plate with some cold pasta salad and a brownie I hadn't touched. Nobody said anything. Not even a whisper. I felt like I didn't exist. I went home that night in silence. I didn't cry at first. I just sat at my kitchen table, staring at the purse I had planned to give her a second time, maybe with a note. I had even imagined us laughing about the awkward party moment later, making up over coffee. But she made it clear.
She didn't want me.
Not in her house, not in her life, not even as a gift giver. That night, I decided I wasn't going to be invisible anymore. I was going to remind her who I was. I raised her husband. I watched her kid. I kept my mouth shut when she talked down to me. No more. If she wanted to play cold, I could be colder. I started with something simple. I stopped answering her texts. When she asked me to watch Ryan the next week, I said no. I told her I had plans. She was shocked. She didn't like being told no. I could hear it in her voice. "But you always watch him," she said. "Not anymore," I replied. Then I started pulling back from Mark. No more Sunday check-ins. No more surprise baked goods. No more just stopping by. Let him feel what it's like when the glue that holds everything together quietly steps away. But I didn't stop there. I found a lawyer, and I started digging. I wasn't planning to sue anyone. That's not who I am. But I needed legal advice. I needed to understand what my rights were, especially with Ryan. I had watched him nearly every week since he was born. Diaper changes, bedtime stories, emergency doctor visits. I'd been there. And I wasn't about to let Cassidy erase me from his life just because I didn't fit her picture of a perfect family. I found a local attorney, Mr. Halprin. Old school guy, very direct. I explained everything. I asked about grandparents' rights in Texas. He told me the truth. It's not easy, but it's possible. Especially if I could prove that I was a constant in Ryan's life, that removing me would harm him emotionally. That gave me a path. I started keeping records, texts where Cassidy asked for help, pictures of me and Ryan, birthday cards he made me, even one he gave me 2 months ago that said, "You're my best friend, Grandma." I knew I had to be careful. If Cassidy caught wind of what I was doing too early, she'd shut me out completely. So I stayed quiet. I smiled when I saw her at church or the grocery store. I played dumb.
Then I found something.
During one of Ryan's last visits to my house, he left his tablet in his backpack. I didn't mean to snoop, I swear. But it was unlocked, and a message popped up while I was moving it. Some sort of shared family calendar. I opened it and saw an event labeled Cass and Nick Weekend, Airbnb Fort Worth. The same weekend Mark was out of town on business. I didn't know a Nick. I clicked it. There was a note. Remember to pack lingerie. My heart dropped. I screenshotted everything and printed it out. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. But I knew this. I wasn't the only one Cassidy was disrespecting. She was doing the same to Mark, only he didn't see it.
Yet.
The next week, Mark called me for the first time in weeks. Said he missed me. Said Ryan was asking why Grandma wasn't around anymore. I told him we should have lunch. Just the two of us. He agreed. We met at a quiet diner near campus. I brought the screenshots in an envelope. I didn't give them to him right away. I let him talk. He looked tired, worn down. I asked him how things were with Cassidy. He hesitated, then shrugged. She's been distant, he said. Always tired. Always on her phone. That's when I slid the envelope across the table. I didn't go looking for this, I said. But I think you need to see it. He opened it slowly. His face turned pale. He didn't say a word for almost 5 minutes. Then he whispered, Nick was her ex. From college. He stared down at the table like he couldn't move. I didn't push. I just sat with him. Let him process. He asked to take the papers with him. I said of course. That night he didn't go home. He slept at a friend's place. Cassidy noticed. And the war started. The next morning, I got a call from Cassidy. She didn't even say hello. Just launched right in. You're a manipulative old witch, she hissed. How dare you sneak into our marriage? I didn't say a word. She kept going. Mark told me everything. You showed him fake screenshots. I don't know how you did it, but I'm not going to let you tear apart my family. I hung up. I knew they were real. I didn't need to argue with her. But it was clear she wasn't going to back down quietly. She wanted to turn this into a war of image and loyalty. She started playing the victim, telling people I was interfering, that I was unstable. I heard it from neighbors. Even someone at church asked me if I was doing okay. Cassidy was trying to poison the well. Mark stayed quiet at first. He moved into the guest room, but didn't leave the house. Said he needed time to think. He was torn, wanted to believe the best in her for the sake of Ryan. But I could see it in his face when we spoke. Trust was cracked. And Cassidy knew it. That's when she pulled her dirtiest move. She filed a restraining order. Said I was stalking her, harassing her, endangering Ryan. I didn't even know she'd filed until a deputy showed up at my door with papers. I had to go to court. I sat in a freezing courtroom in my best dress while Cassidy told lie after lie. She cried on command, told the judge I'd been acting unstable, that I had threatened to take Ryan from her. She even brought in a friend to say she'd seen me lurking near their house. It was all made up. My hands shook. But then my lawyer stood up. He calmly laid out my side, showed the texts, the years of babysitting, the birthday cards, the photos. He brought up Cassidy's calendar note, too, the one about the Airbnb. She tried to brush it off as a girl's weekend joke. But it was too specific, too pointed. The judge didn't grant her request. He saw through it. But that wasn't the win. Not yet. The win came later that night. Mark showed up at my door. He had a suitcase. Ryan was with him. He didn't say much, just looked tired. He asked if they could stay with me for a few days. I said yes. Of course I did. Cassidy blew up my phone for hours, but I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She'd made her move and lost. Mark was seeing the real her now. So were others. The lies were crumbling. But I wasn't done. She had made me feel like nothing. Now I was going to take everything she cared about, her image, her control, her perfect life, and I was going to shatter it.
Piece by piece.
After Mark and Ryan moved in with me, things started to change fast. Mark was quieter at first, like he was trying to piece together everything he'd ignored for years. But I saw it, the flicker of anger, the hurt, and the slow burning of clarity. Cassidy had fooled him for too long, but now the mask was off. I kept my focus tight. I knew Cassidy's pride was her weakness. She thrived on control, on appearances. I decided to use that. First, I reached out to people Cassidy had lied to, the friends, the church group, even the neighbors. Quietly, I shared proof of her cheating, her lies, and her attempts to isolate me from Ryan. The screenshots, the calendar notes, the court hearing transcripts. Not in a messy, aggressive way, just facts laid out calmly. Her so-called friends started turning cold. Some blocked her on social media. Others stopped returning calls. The whispers started. At church, the pastor pulled me aside one Sunday. "We never realized what was happening," he said softly. "If you ever need support, we're here." That felt like a victory. Meanwhile, Mark was rebuilding his relationship with Ryan. He apologized to me one night, tears running down his face, telling me he was sorry for doubting me. We all leaned on each other. But Cassidy wasn't done. She tried to guilt-trip Mark, tried to charm him back with promises she'd change. But Mark's eyes were open now. He told her firmly, "You hurt all of us. You lied and betrayed my trust. It's over." Then came the biggest blow. One evening, I got a call from the Airbnb company, not from Cassidy but from someone who worked there. They'd gotten a complaint. Cassidy had booked a property under a false name, and there was evidence she was using the place for secret meetings with multiple men. They were investigating her for fraud and misrepresentation. I sent that information straight to Mark. The look on his face was the final nail in the coffin. Cassidy's world was crumbling. She tried calling and texting me, begging for forgiveness. I didn't answer. I wanted no part of it. She showed up at my door once, desperate, pleading, but I didn't let her in. I told her coldly, "You threw me away like garbage in front of everyone. Now you see what happens when you lose family." Weeks later, Mark filed for divorce. Cassidy had no fight left. The public humiliation, the legal trouble, and losing Mark and Ryan broke her. The best part? I watched from the sidelines as she lost custody battles, lost friends, and had to move out of that big house she'd used to look down on me from. Meanwhile, Mark, Ryan, and I rebuilt our family on trust and respect. We celebrated birthdays with laughter, not tears. I'm not just nothing anymore. I'm Ryan's grandmother, Mark's mother, and the woman who refused to be erased. It took months, pain, and a lot of battles. But I showed Cassidy and everyone else that no matter how hard they try to make you feel small, you still matter. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't just words or anger, it's reclaiming your place, your dignity, and your family.